Hey everyone, I'm Lisa Baudouin. Welcome to Lisa's chat room. Today in this DIY video, I'm going to talk about my porch. I'm actually making 3 videos today. So this one's going to be about the porch. The next one is going to be about my dining nook. And then the final one is going to be about my glass cutting. That's right. So make sure you look at those videos out there that I have and see if they interest you. But today is about the porch. And I'm going to first of all just say, for me, one of the best things I did was I contacted my permit office and I got a permit. And a lot of people will try to avoid that. Now, here is the reason that you need a permit, that I suggest you get a permit. Because first of all, when you go out there and you watch these DIYs, your city might have different codes. So I'm literally, when I walk you through, I'm not going to tell you everything. I'm not going to tell you the size of screws or anything like that. Your city will tell you. They will dictate what you need to use for certain structures and things like that. That's so important for you to listen to, because when you get homeowners insurance, a homeowner inspector comes out and checks, right? And usually it used to be where they just kind of take a visual look, but now they're getting more and more into it, and they're looking at different structures of your home. And then what's going to happen is they're going to start researching to make sure you have those permits, because if you didn't have a permit and that thing caused, whatever the structure was, caused an issue, your electrical, your wiring, your plumbing, whatever it is, the structures on your home, then your insurance might not cover it. So that is one of the main reasons why. The second reason is safety, because permit offices, whether or not you want to think about it or not, these DIYers, yeah, they're pretty good, some of them, and even me, I'm okay. But the thing is I don't know the structural weights and things like that, the limits or what's needed for making things safe. So you might watch somebody doing something and maybe a wind comes and destroys your building, or maybe it falls on you. Okay. Sorry, that's the truth. So what I tell you, the disclosure that I'm not an expert in anything, make sure you go out and you check that. Okay. All right. So, I've shown you some of the stuff. I started with the plan, and always what happens is I do a visual plan of it. I kind of sketch it out then. I'm looking at other people's, and then I sketch out my own, and then I start to work on it. I got the permit. I work step by step with the permit officer. I make sure that everything I do is within line. So like, for instance, once I got the framing up, before I put the plank boards on, I called the permit officer. He came out, he checked it, he made sure that it was copacetic, and then I moved on. Because the last thing I want to do is get it put together and then have the permit officer tell me, that's wrong. There's nothing worse when you're doing projects like this and having to correct them. It's really not fun. And I've had projects that I've done where it's like I do it over and over and over and over, but nothing like this, okay? I actually sometimes do things 3, 4, or 5 times over. Honest. People think, oh, you're so perfect. No, I'm not. But I keep trying. So anyway, point is I got the framework up. I got the planks up. I'm going to show you through the window, because it's really, there's lots of birds out there, and it's really sunny. So I'm going to show you some stuff standing by the door here, and then I'll go outside and show you the rest. So I'm going to go detailed in here. So hopefully that is okay with you. All right. So in my porch, or my little back area here, and I'm going to show you. So here I've got the 2-inch by 6-inch by 12-foot beams, and there's 2 of them, and they're sandwiched together. And then I have these little brackets here, and I have the posts running down. Now for me, I'm using these post holders, and I recommend you get these. If you can, make sure your permit officer says it's okay, because they are so much better than what I call a sock post holder. A sock post holder, you have to put the post in it. And what a pain in the butt. This is so nice. They are more expensive. I got them at Home Depot for about $20 a piece. And actually, when I first bought the first couple I bought, because I couldn't afford them all at once, they were like $15. Now they're up, of course. But it's so much nicer. And then I asked the permit officer, how do I attach them? Now, everything that's attached on the Home Depot site, Lowe's site, Menards site, they will recommend the hardware that you need to use for all these hangers, tie hangers, and post holders and whatnot. But I also double checked with the permit officer to make sure. So he told me what to use, the screws to use to go down, and you use a special cement screw to go down into the cement. You have to drill those holes first, of course, and you use what's called a hammer drill Now, for me, that has been the most, I wouldn't say it's not difficult. It's just time consuming. It's taking forever because my cement is made with a really hard grade cement. So it's taking, I don't know, an hour and a half sometimes just to drill one darn hole. So I do have those brackets on each post, right, on one side, and I'm finishing up the other side now. And people say, well, how did you put all this together? Well, I put it together with a bunch of L brackets, large ones, and a ladder and other things. So I'll show you in a minute. But I used a ladder and this one thing out there, that right there. I used that and I just hoisted it on there. But for the back here, where which I'm going to show you in a minute, but where the house is, now I can't attach this to the house. If I wanted to attach it to the house, the elective would have been to dig a big hole right there where the post is and cement it in. And I didn't want to do that. And part of the reason is cost and time, but the other part is eventually what I'm going to do is, for now, I'm going to create a float deck beyond it. But who knows, maybe I'd want to tear this down and have a roof over the entire area. So I just want to have it where it's temporary, sort of. Permanent temporary, sort of. So anyway, these are great. I love these. These worked really good. They're very easy to install. They're very easy to attach. And I used, again, all the screws and things like that are recommended, but also to the permit officer okayed everything. So then once I got the framework up, then I put the rafters up and I used these hangers. Now these hangers, personally, I recommend you make sure you buy the best, at least in the middle. You can find like a low, you can find a middle and a higher grade of these attachments and stuff. I would recommend you get at least the middle. And if you can, get the best, because you want this to last forever. Now, what I did then was I put the rafters up according to code, and it was time consuming, but it's not difficult. And then the elective after the rafters was, the permit officer said I could either use 5/8 inch plywood and, side the whole thing, attach it to the whole thing, or I could use these plank beams. And these plank beams are 1 by 4 by 12 inch. Now, again, you're going to have to check with your permit officer to make sure that this is appropriate for your structure. But that's what I did. And the reason was, first of all, cost. It cost a fortune for that plywood now. But secondly, it was because I can get in underneath. I literally would, I started at the back of the wall up here, and I screwed them in, and then I went to the next, and I could literally slide in between and go from the ladder and screw them in. I didn't have to get on top of anything. I'm not afraid of heights, and I know I can get up there and stuff, but I avoid it. I have a thing. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the roof, how I'm going to do it, because people are asking, how the hell did you do this by yourself? I did this all by myself. There was no help whatever, none. And so here, what the idea was I first took and had that ladder there, and then I put the posts up, I attached it, and then what I did was I put the other post up, but I also had it just kind of sitting there with the L bracket on, okay? If you can see, there's some L brackets right there. And I just had it like that, as safe as I could. That thing was underneath it. And then I would just center it, and I just sandwiched in my little bracketing. It was one step at a time, thinking it through. Now for the house, what's against the house, I actually used L brackets for up above, which I'll show you in a second, but that's what I did. And then I actually did L bracket to the house for just temporary so that I could get it level. And it's funny because this is level, the house is not. Well, it's as level as I could get it. And is it 100% squared? No. I don't ever really think I can do anything 100% squared, especially because I don't have a table saw. And that's one of the mistakes. I should have had a table saw. The other thing is I would never recommend to paint your wood. That's one big mistake that I did. I painted the wood, and it already started to chip off because you're not supposed to paint treated wood for at least a year. But I would never paint it again. What I would recommend is you stain it. after a year. That's what you should do. But I didn't want to do that because I don't want to wreck my hardware. I wanted my hardware to be silver. I wanted to kind of snap and pop and have that beautiful look to it. So I did what I did, but that's okay. Now, the other thing I'm going to talk about is the roofing. I got the roofing, but the problem with the roofing, and I didn't know it until I got it, is that underneath the roofing, it's white. There's a white enamel. So you're going to see that, which I don't like. Now, you can buy a paint. You can buy spray paint or a can of paint to paint it. But the problem is two things. So the can of paint, highly dangerous, bad for you to breathe in, goes all over the place, and you're going to need many cans to paint these strips. These strips are the roofing is 3 by 10. This sticks out. This is 8 foot and it sticks out. So the roofing's going to butt up against the house. So it'll work out fine, and I'll show you in a second. Because this actually extends out. He said I could go 2 feet, and I went 1. So it's extending out. So by the time I put the roofing up, if I have to cut it, it won't be the end of the world. I can cut it and I can put that up, but I think it'll be fine. Anyway, point is what I hate is that white. I don't want white. So you can do the spray, but you can also do the painting it with regular liquid paint. But that paint costs $70 a gallon, and I am tapped out with money. So I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it up for this year, and then next year deal with that, because I can't do it all at once. It's just too hard, not enough money. And, I got to think things through and problem solve. And right now, just getting the roof on is the most important part. And now I understand the reason why you would use plywood is because then you could paint the underside and you wouldn't see the underside of the metal roofing. So I get that. But anyway, so that's where I am. And then let's go outside. Okay, so here we are. And the roofing is over here. So how I'm going to do that. Now, the inspector said to take and measure from here to here over like an X, and I'll tell you if you're squared. It doesn't matter whether I'm squared or not now. There's no way I'm going to be able to change this. So I'm pretty squared as far as I know. Everything is pretty much squared. It looks pretty good to me. The only thing that's wonky is this thing here. One of the things that I would really recommend is that you buy, I don't know how to put this. Some places don't have really good wood. They really don't. I was going through wood after wood after wood, and these were the best pieces I could find, but they're wonky. And then some pieces were straight, so it's going to take your time. You really should make sure you try to get the best lumber you can, especially for the trim out features. But anyway, that's the metal roof. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this one on first. And how I'm going to do it is I'm going to use that little thing. I have ladders. I also have a couple ladders, and I'm going to literally wait for a day that is not windy or breezy at all and go up there, and I will screw that in on one side. Now, it's very, very dangerous, okay, because it's sharp as all get out. So I'm going to screw it in, and see, this is what I'm talking about. It's going to go and butt underneath here. So I should have, it should come out. It should be okay. And if it isn't, what I can do is I can just cut that metal off and trim it up. And that's what you have to do anyway. The other thing with the metal roof is there is some tape that you're to put between your seams. And it goes under your seams, I should say. And so you put one on, and there's flashing and stuff that you can use as well. And for me this year, all I'm going to do is I'm going to use the tape. So the first one's just going to come right there. And then it's going to go over. I'm going to screw it in. And you screw it into the lower channel. You don't screw it into the higher channel, obviously. The thing is the higher channel is where it's going to overlap, and that's where that tape goes, so that you don't get any water seepage. Also, too, the screws that you use they're called pole barn screws. They have a special gasket. It's a rubber gasket. I'm going to show you. So here I'm showing you, this is the pole barn screws that I bought. Now, actually, I bought these originally, and I think these were what was recommended. So you can see there is a rubber gasket. See that? And what that does is once it you screw it onto your roof, which you can't go too tight. You don't want to torque it. You just want it tight enough where that gasket creates a good barrier, because then otherwise when this is on top of the roof and the water comes, it's going to seep in. Now I'm replacing those with these. All right, same concept, only much longer screw. I did some digging and I talked to the permit officer, and I just want a much longer screw, and I might have to go for something even longer. But you can see it's black. I just rather have the black on the top rather than the silver. And this again has that rubber. Now, I watched a video, and if you can buy one, the ones that have actually, it has a head that goes over this. And I can't think of the name of it, of course, now that I'm doing this video. It comes over, so it's kind of like an umbrella in a way that protects right here, because this is where the rain could get in too, which is kind of dumb. You know, why didn't they make it where these are out? This right here could have been out further, like a double protector. I don't know. See what I mean? This is metal, and this is metal, and this underneath is rubber. So why they didn't put like a rubber gasket here in between these two metals and then another one here is beyond me. I don't get it. But I'm doing what I can for the time being, and if I can find, the thing is, I ordered this all at once through Menards or Home Depot, so I got to go with that. I can't special order because of the way that I loan this out. So this is what I'm going to be using, is these, and I'm going to be using them into the channel, the low channel of it, the low part, this part. And what will happen is I will be screwing that onto the plank boards above where the rafters are as best I can. And there's plenty of it, so I can do it that way. And then I will start here. Now, the final thing I'm going to say here is once I get that first one up, because I'm going to screw it in, I'm going to get it sound on this side. I want it straight edged on this side. Do I want it straight edged over there? Yeah, but it's not as important. I'm going to take, and once I get that up, I'll screw it in. And then I have a plywood. And I've got a system where I'm going to have a rope and a plywood, and I'm going to screw the plywood down so that I have protection when I'm up there, and I've got something to kneel on as I'm up there putting up the piece. And so then I will finish that piece, then I will move over. Once I screw down where I'm supposed to, I'll move over, and then I'll do the same over and over again. Now, I might have an issue once I get to the part where when I'm going to be doing this. I'm not sure. I think I'll be fine because it's going to overlap. So it'll overlap, like this will go up, and then this next one will go up, and it'll go over the last part, which is over here. So hope that made sense. So I think that's it. And then today what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to paint my back wall and clean up my windows. I'll talk about the windows in another video. They're so wonky. This is a 1959 house, and all the windows, they're not custom, so I can't even buy out windows. It costs a fortune to fix them, so I'm doing it myself. But I'm going to replace that, and you'll see how nice it looks. It's going to look really beautiful in here. Then the final thing is I'm going to be putting a float deck right here, and then over here I'm going to actually have it's going to be where it's dug in. It's not a complete jacuzzi. It's like a partial jacuzzi, kind of like a bathtub with jets. But there's going to be a door, so the floor is going to be on it, and I can take the floor off. It's going to be like a bifold. I saw a lot of I watched the Living Big in a Tiny House with Bryce, and I see a lot of these decks where they put a bathtub underneath it. And to me, what I'm going to do instead is they have it where the door comes off. I want it where the door actually is bifolded, so you would actually open it and it would bifold up on each side. And that way I don't have to be monkeying with that door. That wood, it's got a place to be. Plus it gives a little protection, I think. So I'm either going to do that, or now that I'm thinking of it, I could have it somehow slide to the sides. That's, to me, a little bit better of an design than having to take the wood off, and then you gotta have a place to put the wood. So there's that. But this is all going to be a float deck with wood. And actually, I found these really nice people. They're going to give me pallets. So that's going to be all manufactured with pallets. And I did talk to the permit officer, and he said it would be best for me to get a permit. I'm going to double check that. And when I get to that project, I'll talk more about that. But for today, this is what I've talked about. I hope you're gotten something from it. I hope I'm a porch, because, man, this has been an issue. The other thing I want to mention really quick is when I got my permit, I got it last year. Permits only last so long. So every step of the way, I have had a permit officer come out and look at what I've done. The one thing you want to make sure you do is you make sure that your timing is right, because my permit only lasts till December this year. It's got to be finished for them to check off. Otherwise, I have to get another permit. Yeah. And I really didn't realize that. Then that's the problem. You really got to read through all the fine print of all the things. But I'm really glad that I'm doing it this way. And the struggles I do have a lot of struggles with it. It's not the easiest thing to do this by myself. But I feel good because I can show other people. The thing is, one thing I would say, if I could do this with someone else, I would. I would recommend you have even a spotter, somebody here, and I might even have just a friend come over while I'm doing the roof, just in case. But I'm also protecting myself. I know how to do that. So be very careful. Safety comes first. That's why you need the permit. That's why you need to go step by step. That's why you need to make sure that everything's structured and sound, but you're also safe while you're making it as well. All right. So that's it for this video. I hope you got something from it. Again, please like, subscribe, share with your friends and family. Okay. And make sure you stay safe, but make sure you make comments below. I would really like to know what you think about what I'm doing, maybe some suggestions for other viewers that are watching it. I think that bathtub idea is really great. And when I get to that part, I can't wait to share that some more. So anyway, you take care and have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.